So how in the world do we store all the greens that we harvest here on our farm? Greetings friends, I'm Mike the Fit Farmer and welcome to another installment of Growing Greens All Year. One of the challenges that you may have in growing greens is how to store them, how to keep them cool so that they don't spoil. Ideally, the temperature that you want to store your greens at is between 35 and 41 degrees. The FDA recommends that you store greens at least 41 degrees and under, so keep that in mind. My friend at Ray Tyler at Rose Creek Farm likes to store his greens at 35 degrees. I personally like mine to be around 35, 38 degrees. So that way they keep cool, and if you keep them at the right temperature and the right humidity, they can last for weeks. And if you are gardening at your house and your home and you're bringing in the harvest for your greens, you want to wash them, and then if you wash them, you want to make sure that they dry thoroughly. Drying them thoroughly really helps with keeping them from spoiling in your refrigerator, because the more moisture that you store them in, the more that moisture is just going to sit on those leaves and cause them to spoil faster. Another trick is you can use what is called the paper towel trick in storing your lettuces and your greens. And that, if you're using a Ziploc bag or some type of container, maybe you recycle the container that you purchased salad mix from at the store and you save those and you put your lettuces and greens in there. One of the things you could do is also to help with the humidity factor. What you can do is take paper towels and put them around the inside of the Ziploc bag or the storage container, so that way that those paper towels will absorb that condensation, that humidity, the moisture that's just collecting in there. So that's a trick for you at home. If you're growing greens and you want to know how to store them, you can try doing that. Well, when we first started really farming here at our farm and growing greens, well, storing them was quite the challenge. We first started off with bringing greens, harvesting them, and storing them in our family refrigerator. And that was challenging because we had just our normal family stuff in the refrigerator. So we were jam-packing it full of just extra greens that were coming in out of the garden. I was like, whoa, we can't do this for long, because we're like working through the harvest of greens that were in the refrigerator, trying to get to eggs and get to other things that were in the refrigerator. So it got us started. We were doing something to get started, but that wasn't ideal. So we got through that. And then next I was like, all right, we got to have some other type of refrigeration for our greens and the produce that we're bringing off the farm. So I was like, we'll just get another refrigerator. The challenge was, we live in a yurt, small square footage, and we didn't have any extra buildings to put a refrigerator in. So what did we do? We put an extra refrigerator in our bedroom. Yep, Lacey actually let me put a refrigerator in our master bedroom just for our garden produce to come and store in. And that really helped alleviate having to put it in our family refrigerator, but it was quite a new challenge of having a refrigerator inside our bedroom. So that lasted for a little bit, probably a little bit longer than we would like to. It made moving around the bedroom a little bit challenging, but we just dealt with it. After that, I knew that we really needed to try to upgrade, and I heard about people building walk-in coolers. So I was really gung-ho about building a walk-in cooler, and we did just that. We built an 8x8x8 walk-in cooler with just wood, plywood, and 2x4s, and we followed some of the plans that were online that we saw, and we used this thing right here called a CoolBot. And a CoolBot is a great tool. What it does is it takes the AC unit, you put a window AC unit inside whatever area you're going to use for your cooler, your refrigerator, and this little unit right here, the CoolBot, will actually trick that AC unit to make the temperature go lower than what it is designed to do. It's designed to go somewhere between 60 degrees, but this CoolBot here will allow that AC unit to go down to in the 40s and even 30 degree temperatures. So that way you can use the traditional window AC unit to make a walk-in cooler. And it worked great for us for a number of weeks and months until we came to July and August. And here where we live, July and August especially, it is hot and very humid. So what happened was the window unit that we're using for a walk-in cooler would freeze up because it was having to work so hard to keep the walk-in cooler cold. And I was beginning to see that, whoa, this is not working. This on top of the fact that I came to the realization that I put the walk-in cooler in a bad spot. It was getting sun pretty much the entire day. So it was having to work this AC unit in overdrive. And I knew that, oh man, this is a mistake, so we're gonna have to figure out something else. So I ended up converting the walk-in cooler into a grow room. So we ended up getting 2 refrigerators and placed them up in our wash and pack station. And I ultimately knew that I needed to get a walk-in cooler again. I just needed to make sure that I put it in a really good location. And I got one that was actually a commercial grade one that had the actual panels to really keep things insulated and cooled properly. So I came across a used one, so we got that. However, there was a number of things that needed to be done to it, so we didn't have the budget to completely finish it. So I had to just go through a number of months with just using the 2 refrigerators. And with that, I was basically harvesting, washing, packaging, put them in the refrigerator, and delivering the next morning to our customers, just because I could only fill those refrigerators with so much. So this past week, thankfully, we started the build on our official commercial grade walk-in cooler, and I'm so excited about that. Lacey kickstarted the project off by going ahead and cleaning off the concrete pad that the walk-in cooler is going to sit on, because it had been a number of months, I think it not quite a year, but almost a year since we constructed the concrete pad and poured it. So a lot of leaves and debris had just collected on there and dirt, so it needed to be cleaned off before we put the walk-in cooler on there. And just to go a little bit extra mile, Lacey went ahead and took the pressure washer and just sprayed it off. Next, she sprayed on a moisture barrier on top of the concrete, just to give the concrete some extra protection from moisture just staying stagnant on the concrete. So that way it'll preserve our concrete as well as keeping moisture from just collecting under the walk-in cooler. Then a day or so later, after the moisture barrier had dried, we began wiping down the panels and getting them ready to be put together. We also went around and checked all the locking mechanisms to make sure that they work properly. And the locking mechanisms are important because they are actually what hold the panels for the walk-in cooler together. But since we bought this walk-in cooler used, only about 65 or 70% or so of those locking mechanisms actually work. So this was one challenge that we were going to have to deal with. Another one was we didn't have instructions on how to actually put this thing together. Whew! And on top of that, it rained the night before and things were just muddy all around. So we're going to be having to work in mud today. So it looks like it was beginning to shape up to be maybe a mission impossible. And for this project, I had a number of people that were willing to help me out. We had a team. I had a team. I had my father-in-law, I had Ben, I had Lacey, I had the kids, and I had a guy named Evan, which will come into the story a little bit later. But we first started by putting together the floor. And Micah, well, he's always ready to help me out.
What are you doing?
Hey, look, come get this.
My dad's bad, Baba.
Hey, Bob.
I'm the king, Micah. I'm the king.
Alright, let's move it up. After the floor was done, next we began to move forward with putting up the walls. And this is where it began to feel like, hey, we're starting to make some progress here. Things are starting to get going.
This one's on floor.
I don't.
And there were some of the locking mechanisms that were pretty high up. Ben's pretty tall, but he couldn't reach it. So I just had to give him a boost up so he could lock them for me.
Dang.
Teamwork. If this is coming out.
Hey Micah, can you fist bump? Yeah.
Stop there. I wonder if that. Here.
We're making some progress. So we got one wall up, and then somehow we got to where we had two walls up that weren't connecting, and it was like, whoa, having to bounce there. Since we were just trying to figure out which pieces went where, we were doing some type of juggling act or whatever you want to call it, and trying to hold the walls up so we could find the piece connected together, so that way they would stay a little bit more stable. So we found the missing piece to connect them together, and then at this point my father-in-law Don, as well as Evan, who was on the property, he was actually working on the other side of the building, working on prepping the electrical work so that way we can actually connect the walk-in cooler so it will have power to make it work, came over to help us out, and we began putting on the ceiling pieces, which really made things more secure and so much more sturdier and in place. And as we were putting these in, it was so neat to feel like we were almost there. We were getting to the finish line. We were almost done with this project. So Evan and I were on the inside, since we're the ones that are good for lifting things, inside working on attaching the ceiling pieces, as Ben, Lacey, and my father-in-law were helping put them up. So we built out the other walls, then we put the last few pieces on for the ceiling, and then that last piece came, and then bang, we were done. It was neat. We overcame the challenges of not having instructions, of not all the locking mechanisms working, and having to deal with the mud. So it felt so good to see this project done, and looking forward to using this walk-in cooler. Micah and Selah even had to do a celebration dance because they were happy. So there's still a number of things that need to be done to finish up this walk-in cooler, as far as setting up our AC units and running the electrical and all that. But we're almost there, and we look forward to using it because it will help increase production on our farm big time and efficiency. So what I can do is just have a day where I harvest, stick the harvest in the walk-in cooler, come back and wash and package it another day. Well, that's it for this vlog. Make sure you stay tuned for upcoming vlogs. So I'm going to share with you how we finished this project and actually start using the walk-in cooler. I'm also planning to set up electrical so that way we can have a more efficient wash and pack station, so make sure you stay tuned for that. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know how you store your produce from your garden. That's it for today. We'll see you next time. Grow on. Join us in sharpening your homesteading skills at the Homesteading Life Conference in Hannibal, Missouri, August 4th and 5th. Act now because seating is limited and tickets are halfway sold out. Check out the show notes below for how you can purchase your tickets today.